All right, what is up, everybody? Sorry for the little bit of a delayed start, but we are here. We are in what we are going to refer to as the nighttime pre-show. We very rarely do a nighttime pre-show. I've got all the guys here: Ryan Fowler, Keith Sanchez, Damian Parson backstage. I can see them. But they can't see you. They can only see each other. They have no idea what I'm actually doing here. But we're hanging out in the pre-show. They will be joining us in a little bit. They're all smiling so that they can actually hear me. They can hear what I'm saying. They know that I'm trolling them. But we are about to get started here in just a little bit with our live mock draft. Just getting our tweet sent, getting it sent out on Twitter, getting it sent out here on YouTube. So figured we would do a little bit of a pre-show, and I would break down the ground rules here for what we are about to do. So grab a drink, come hang out with us. We've got a bunch of picks that we're going to make. Keith, DP, Ryan, all going to make these picks. They've already determined the order, so it should be a lot of fun. And your questions about the picks, players they didn't pick, players they did pick, all of it is going to be fair game here in just a little bit. So super excited to have you guys on board here for this journey as we kick off draft week. It's been a huge day for us over at TDN. TDN Daily this morning, prospects and props. Our TDN premium audience, you guys know that we did the TDN 100 predictive version today. So a lot of fun stuff coming your way. So, without further ado, I'm going to go to the big screen. I'm going to bring in the guys, and we're going to be able to have this conversation. So, there you go. You can see all of our lovely faces here on the screen now. They've been able to see each other the whole time. But there you go. You got Keith Sanchez, DP, Damian Parson, and Ryan Fowler. We are all ready to go. We are all very excited to kick off draft week here in style with a little bit of a mock draft. So, you guys know the drill. When we do these things, they should be extremely interactive. We're here to have fun, have a good time. The guys will discuss their pick, and then whatever questions you guys have, we will get to and get them all started. So, gentlemen, I filibustered as long as I could to make sure that everything was ready to go and that we were all good here. So, if you guys are ready, I know the people in the chat and on Twitter are ready, so we shall get this thing started. Now, the order has already been predetermined, and we already know who is going to go first overall to be picking for the Carolina Panthers. So, Ryan Fowler, I kick it over to you, my guy, because you have the first pick. So if you want to announce to the world who you're picking with this pick, the reasoning behind it, and then we can let the draft and the banter begin.
Yeah, first off, happy start of draft week. Everybody's going to be a crazy week, but it's going to be a fun one. It's the most enjoyable of the week. So, yeah, welcome into our mock draft. It's going to be a fun 31 picks, of course. Don't forget, Miami's pick was forfeited. So there's not 32 picks in the first round this year, 31. But without further ado, first overall pick in this draft for me, Bryce Young, quarterback, Alabama for the Carolina Panthers, face the franchise. Love the fit down in Carolina, build up from the ground up. So I'm not going to get cute with it. Bryce Young, quarterback, Alabama, kicking us off here tonight.
I'm willing to say probably the easiest pick any of you guys are going to make tonight. Probably the easiest card to turn in. A lot of the rumors have been going that direction. So Ryan, you drew well out of the hat to get Houston here right out of the gate to be able to make this pick. Whatever the opposite of the easiness of Carolina's pick, probably the difficulty rests in the hands of Keith Sanchez because he is picking for the Houston Texans with this number 2 pick. Keith, are you going to do it? Are you going to go quarterback, or have I convinced you enough in all of these TDN staff meetings? Have I laid the groundwork long enough and good enough for you to join me over here in the do not take a quarterback, take a pass rusher, and prosper down the road?
Let's get this thing started, Chris. Like we said, man, Ryan had it easy. I wanted all the pressure, man. So the Houston Texans sitting at number 2. Will they go Anthony Richardson? Will they go Will Levis? Will they go C.J. Stroud? I said nope. No, man. I'm going Alabama edge rusher Will Anderson with this pick. Listen, and in part because this is a very unpopular opinion, but I don't think Davis Mills is a horrible quarterback, man. He has the worst situation that in the entire NFL. I'll say this: if people are clamoring and excited about Jimmy Garoppolo being a starting quarterback, Davis Mills has that capability in them. I think this, man, they should continue to add defensive pillars, offensive pieces, right? And continue to build this thing out before they decide to draft one of these guys, whether that's Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, or C.J. Stroud, because are we completely comfortable with either one of those guys stepping into this situation and immediately turning around? So I think it's not their time to draft a quarterback. Hold on, get a defensive pillar, get someone that the head coach, D'Amico Ryans, I'm sorry, I was blanking on his name. He had a Bosa brother right in San Fran. Now he gets Will Anderson to line up at the edge rush position.
Happy draft week to you, Katie, in the YouTube chat. And Keith, your pick has already drawn some questions here from the YouTube audience, so I will get to them here in a second. But I will say the thing I did not expect for us to happen here, I didn't have it on my live mock draft bingo card, was you comparing Davis Mills to Jimmy Garoppolo. I didn't see it. I did not have that on the card.
I think that's a fairly
No,
low bar, to be honest.
It's good, and I like it. I hadn't heard that yet, so I like it a little bit. But I did not have that on the bingo card here as we do this. And so Sean has a question here, and I guess this is a philosophical conversation to have here at this point. So Keith, I'll put it over to you. But DP Ryan, if you want to jump in here after he answers, please go right ahead. But Sean wants to know why Anderson over Tyree Wilson. We do know that there have been a lot of reports that they could take Tyree Wilson. What led you to say, hey, I know there's a lot of noise out there with Tyree, but I'm going to go with Will Anderson for Houston here?
Yeah, so man, when I watch both prospects, I think one guy is a true edge rusher and he has the ability to get after the quarterback. And that's something that you want in your edge rushers, right? You want sack production. That's the reason why we covered these guys. That's why they continue to move up as far as salaries in the NFL. And that's why they continue to move up draft boards and we continue to draft these guys. Will Anderson, he has the more, I guess, instant ability to be able to impact player affecting the quarterback, rushing the passer. Tyree Wilson is a guy that I project to be more of a tweener in between a defensive end / defensive tackle whose upside is there as a pass rusher, but right now he's more of a run stopper than you would say a pass rusher, in college football and transitioning to the NFL. So I just think Will Anderson, he's a more immediate impact guy as far as rushing the quarterback.
DP, you're on the clock here with the Arizona Cardinals at pick number 3, and I honestly don't think you could go wrong turning in the card with any name on it, right? We got a team here that's got a lot of needs. They need help on probably every position group outside of quarterback, although some people say they might get rid of the quarterback after this season. So I'm going to pass things over to you here. You get to make a pick for the Arizona Cardinals at pick number 3. What direction are you going in?
I'm going blue chip player, guys. Like this is a team that over the past couple years, a decade under the former leadership, they did not draft the best players available, and especially at needs. Getting Jalen Carter, defensive tackle out of Georgia, man, I just see at the end of the day, it's a blue chip player. One of the 3 blue chip players in this class. He does everything. Stuff the run. He can rush the passer, twist and stunt, corkscrew and handle double teams. The motor, the power, the explosiveness, the athleticism. And the crazy thing about it is I don't believe we've seen the best of Jalen Carter this year. Just a first-year starter, just a one-year starter, from the 2022 season. I feel like there's so much left, so much room for him to grow in terms of technique-wise and hand placement and everything else, the things that you can coach him up. But what you can't coach up is his size, his athleticism, his length, and the way he plays. This is a blue chip player that can make plays all over the defense, and Arizona needs this. They need a guy, and Jalen Carter gives them a guy.
DP, I have a quick question, man. With Jalen Carter, because obviously everyone's going to talk about character, right? With Jalen Carter's question marks, I'm not even labeling the guy, right? We just say there's some question marks out there. Did that make you a little bit nervous with him going to, I guess, a dysfunctional organization like the Arizona Cardinals and them being able to kind of, take control and make sure that they mature him as a young man?
I thought about it, Keith. I thought about it a little bit. But, if this was the Steve Keim, Cliff Kingsbury led, Arizona Cardinals, I wouldn't have made this pick at all. Like, the owner is still the owner, but the GM and the coaching staff is different. And those are the guys who will have face-to-face opportunities with the players. And the previous guys did not run a tight ship. I'm expecting new GM Monty Austinfort and Jonathan Gannon to run a little bit better ship than what we saw with Cliff and Keim.
Sure hope so.
Okay, Ryan, you were on the clock for the Indianapolis Colts here at number 4. We've only had one quarterback go here in the first 3 picks. We know quarterback is an option here, and I don't know if you know this, but I think I saw him in the chat a little bit earlier. If Raul is in here, our resident Indianapolis Colts expert of the TDN Premium Discord and a listener of all the stuff that we do here on the TDN YouTube channel, he will not allow for this unless this card is turned in and it says Anthony Richardson's name on it. So I don't want to set you up there with a lot of pressure to maybe make one of our listeners here angry, but the pick is now yours, and you get to make a decision on who the quarterback of the future for the Indianapolis Colts is.
Yeah, I'm taking a quarterback here, but it may not be the guy that a lot are expecting, and that is Anthony Richardson, quarterback from Florida. He is one of the most unique quarterbacks, not just in this class, but really to enter the NFL in some time. And I don't think we give the kid enough credit, actually, for what he can do inside of structure at Florida. And I'm betting on those tools and traits. I know those are the common words we hear nowadays, but he's a special athlete. And his ceiling, guys, I think we can all agree is really could be a perennial Pro Bowl, All-Pro type of quarterback. His ceiling is absolutely immense. And In Indianapolis, you can hand the ball off to Jonathan Taylor. They got some guys on the outside. They got big physical targets. Really, these guys, their skill player lineup almost looks like an NBA front five. They are humongous on the outside and guys that can do a lot of different things for you, especially Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce. So number 4 overall here, it's not C.J. Stroud from Ohio State, who is my QB2 on my board. The more I watch Anthony Richardson, I love the potential of the kid. I know that word can get coaches fired, but I think he will be developed correctly in Indianapolis. So I'm going Anthony Richardson, 4th overall of the Colts.
Just a reminder for everybody in the chat, get your questions in as these picks roll in. If there are things you'd like to know from any of the guys here as they make these selections, I will do my best to weave them into the show. I want to kind of sidebar for just a second, guys, and get your thoughts on this. We've just made the first 4 picks. There's been a lot of talk, a lot of buzz of the idea of, man, could quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3, 4? Could we see 4 quarterbacks go in the first 4 picks? And it feels to me that very late in this process, I would say within the last 14 to 20 days or so, there's been a lot of movement to the idea of, no, there aren't going to be 4. Maybe there'll be 2 at most. Ryan, I'll start with you since you made the pick here for Indy with Anthony Richardson. Is that the trend that you're also kind of buying into, this idea that 4 quarterbacks not really going to happen? We're going to probably see 2, and then the rest we're going to have to see where they fall.
Yeah, I do. And here's the thing is that whatever we think we know heading into Thursday night, I mean, we've all been around this business long enough. It's not going to play out how we expect. As many mock drafts or whatever resources you want to talk to around the league, it's just not going to turn out how we expect. And all it takes is that one domino to fall and all things go haywire. But I do expect that. I expect to see at least Bryson, CJ to be gone in the top 3 picks. And I mean, right here, I got Anthony going 4. Bottom line is we don't know exactly what's going to happen, and the teams don't even know what's going to happen. So it's going to be a fun week. It really is.
All right, Keith, you were on the clock here with the Seattle Seahawks picking at number 5, a spot where they could do a lot, but Jalen Carter already off the board, Will Anderson already off the board. If we were going to talk about one of these edge rushers, maybe we're discussing Tyree Wilson. Maybe we're discussing the idea of the Seattle Seahawks taking a corner in the first round. I mean, that's not something that they would normally do, but we have to at least consider it here. I pass the baton, I pass the microphone to you here, good sir. What name are we writing on the card? What name are we submitting to the commissioner?
Yeah, so Ryan Fowler just finished up saying that C.J. Stroud was his number 2 quarterback, and he didn't take him. C.J. Stroud is my number 2 quarterback, and I'm going to take him. I'm taking him. Seattle Seahawks. And you know what we're doing, man? Pete Carroll, the general manager, they're completing the transition from Russell Wilson on to the new era, right? Like Geno Smith was a really good stopgap guy, but we know that's not a long-term solution. So we're going to draft C.J. Stroud. We still have DK Metcalf. We have Tyler Lockett. What we traded for Noah Fant, right? So we have some weapons there. We have Kenneth Walker, both offensive tackles. I think now you insert a young quarterback. The Seattle Seahawks are now set up for the next 10 years, and the board fell really well.
I really appreciate it, Keith. I just went on this big long thing about quarterbacks going 1, 2, 3, 4, but we got 2 and you didn't stop. You didn't jump in and be like, "No, Chris, wait, just make that point in a second because I'm about to take a quarterback." No help there whatsoever. I like the pick though. I think it's a little bit different from what we're seeing at this stage of the year in Seattle. There have been talks of them potentially being a potential landing spot for Hendon Hooker with their second first-round pick. Right, that's the luxury of a team picking twice in the first round. Kind of all the unique options, the creativity is certainly on the table for them. DP, we go to you here at number 6. The other team that has 2 first-round picks, the Detroit Lions. We got a lot of different opportunities here, right? Hashtag our Lions, a team that right now the favorite in some markets to win the NFC North and to go to the playoffs. We got 2 first-round picks to add to this team. What kind of ankle biters are we going to acquire for Dan Campbell here with our pick at number 6?
We're going to acquire the best cover corner in the class, and that's Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon. You talk about a guy that makes everything look so easy, fluid. You know, typically I don't want corners to speed a zone turn when guys cross their face because it typically puts you out of phase. Not for Christian Gonzalez. He can speed turn and get right back in the phase. He makes everything look so easy, so fluid, so smooth, like just smooth as butter. The footwork, he's an incredible athlete. And what I love about him, guys, from this year, the improvement in terms of taking the ball away. You know what I mean? Getting the interceptions, taking the ball from the offense, and not just playing really good coverage and being in the hip pocket of receivers. But like I said, if you want to target him, whether end zone or in man-to-man, he would make it. He was able to make quarterbacks pay. And then you also saw the ability to kick down inside into the slot. So you think about number 1 corners who, if you go into a man-to-man scheme and you're asked to travel, excuse me, he can do that. So for me, you know, no Jeff Okudah, yes, Emmanuel Mosley, And I know they brought in Cam Sutton, but you need a guy, you need a dude. And I think Christian Gonzalez paired with those guys give the new DC or give the DC Aaron Glenn a lot to work with in that secondary.
We got a comment from Smitty Sports Machine who says the Lions in the perfect spot. I'd go Gonzalez too. Get Aiden Hutchinson some help in the interior. Those are both options that you could certainly consider.
Front end helps the back end, baby.
Now,
Let's go.
I will say, DP, did you consider? Even if it was just for 2 minutes, right? Maybe not the whole time, but maybe did you consider for just a second the idea of giving the Lions Bijan Robinson? Did you at least consider it? Did you think about it?
Not at this spot.
Just lie to me and say yes, DP. That's all you had to do. You could just lie and say yes, Chris. I did. Don't worry, I considered it because I've been talking about this for weeks.
If I did consider it, it would be to snipe one of my fellow draft mates, which everyone knows exactly who that guy is on this panel. But I don't want to spoil anything.
Ryan, you were on the clock here, the Las Vegas Raiders. This felt like it could be a C.J. Stroud potential landing spot. They got Jimmy G, but that contract kind of movable at the end of year one at most. After 2 seasons, they could get out of it. They kind of have solidified their quarterback spot, but you thought maybe they could take a QB. That's not really an option unless they're gonna be the team that takes a swing at Will Levis. A corner just went off the board. They kind of need help on all 3 layers of their defense. So you've got a pretty good group to pick from here. What position are we focusing in on, and what player are we selecting for the Las Vegas Raiders?
Yeah, living life in the AFC West is not fun for corners, but you got to get guys in the building to understand how to cover and do that. And for me, I'm going to take a corner too, and that's Devin Witherspoon from the University of Illinois. And I absolutely appreciate Devin, the brand of football that he plays, because he's not the biggest guy in the world, but the throwback style of a physicality in the secondary, we don't see that a lot because football, bottom line, has gotten soft, especially over these last 5 to 7 years. And it really is unfortunate, but I appreciate guys, and especially with Devin, to where you have the cover skills, especially in zone and working downhill. And then, of course, that highlight that's been everywhere against Indiana where he's blowing up the running back in the flat. I love that about Devin's game. Now, I do have some concerns with him in the long speed and in man. A couple times where it doesn't have the smoothest hips in the world, where he has that elongate those strides 15, 20 yards downfield. Sometimes guys can break free of him. I think that's something he can work on as he move into the next 3 to 4 years of his career. But I mean, I'm just kind of picking at things right now, right? Devin Witherspoon, I love his game, man zone, physical at the line of scrimmage, can overpower guys that are smaller on the outside, or they want to try to get physical with him. He can blow them into the backfield. I just overall love his game. I think he's going to be a leader that Vegas needs in that locker room. So Spoon at 7 for Vegas for me.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing a lot of, guys, is that in a lot of mock drafts or a lot of the scuttlebutt or the buzz around this is that, it's very popular to see these 2 corners, Christian Gonzalez and Devin Witherspoon, very interchangeable in these 2 spots. DP with your pick with the Lions, and now this pick with the Raiders. Very, very interchangeable with the way the league kind of views these guys. And kind of how we see it too, right? We see there a bit of a tier break after these 2 guys at the top of the corner class. So something that I'm certainly kind of writing down as something I want to see play out on Thursday, where these tiers kind of come in for these corners. We know who the top 2 are, but now after this, we've kind of set the stage for how does this board play out. We'll see how you guys have it play out here in just a second. We move on here to the Atlanta Falcons picking at number 8. Keith, you're my guy here with this pick. I was just talking about a running back with the Detroit Lions. We've got another spot where we could take a running back. We could add to this. We know that Arthur Smith worked with Derrick Henry. This would be a perfect Bijan Robinson spot. We've already got Desmond Ridder. We want to help him out a ton. We've already got Kyle Pitts. We've got Drake London. I mean, we're setting up an offense here in a division that we could potentially compete in this year because kind of things are up in the air. I'm filibustering here. Maybe I could sell you to make a last-minute change if you weren't already considering Bijan. So what do we say here? Bijan Robinson to the Atlanta Falcons?
Bijan to the Atlanta Falcons, baby. Yes, running back in the top 10. DP, I did this for you, baby. I did this for you, man. We're going Bijan in the top 10. Listen, I don't want to hear it. Ezekiel Elliott got drafted in the top 10. Guess what? He ran the Dallas Cowboys to the playoffs. Todd Gurley got drafted really high. Guess what? He ran the Los Angeles Rams to the playoffs, to the Super Bowl, man. Derrick Henry, right? He put that team on his back with a quarterback named Ryan Tannehill. So I'm drafting this running back. We have a young quarterback with Desmond Ridder. I think he's more of a game manager plus than a guy that you want to put the entire franchise on his back. Like Chris just talked about, man, you have Drake London, you have Kyle Pitts. So now you have some offensive weapons. The general manager, Terry Fontenot, he did a hell of a job, man, addressing the defensive side of the football. So now it allows you to go get these offensive skill positions, DP. We can get a running back in the top 10, baby, and expect some really good production.
Keith.
I mean,
Hold on, DP. Round of applause for my guy Keith. This is my favorite pick so far through the first 8 picks. Very nicely done, Keith. We found Bijan a home inside the top 10. I love it. Go ahead, DP. You can respond if you'd like.
Only thing I was going to say is, I think JSN would really be a big help to this offense. But if Arthur Smith wants to run the ball 55 times and lose by 17 points in round 1 of the playoffs, more power to Arthur Smith.
Our guy Sam Teets in the chat says, I'm predicting Bijan to Atlanta in my final mock, so I'm with Keith. I got to tell you, Sam, that's kind of why I was rooting for it too, because I also have that in my final mock, so I just wanted somebody else to be there with me. So thank you, Keith, for making that possible. We now shift to the team that was originally, when the season ended and we had the order all put together, they were the team picking number 1 overall. They were going to be at the top, kind of debating between these edge rushers, this interior player, because they weren't really going to go quarterback. Well, they make the trade with the Carolina Panthers. They are now picking in spot number 9. So, DP, you're picking for the Chicago Bears. We're building around Justin Fields. We're building around this defense. What direction are we going to go in here for the Bears in year 2 of this new regime in Chicago?
Oh, man, I'm going to the trenches. I'm going to the offensive line. I picked Peter Skoronski, offensive lineman out of Northwestern. That was a very clear indication he's not playing tackle for me. I want to kick him inside. I think that what we saw from Larry Borum at right tackle and Braxton Jones at left tackle as the season progressed, that these young men started to play better football, guys. So I was like, instead of moving one of them, I'm going to let them stay where they are, but I'm going to put Peter Skoronski in at probably that left guard spot and just get the best 5 on the field for Justin Fields. Protect him, not just protect him, but then also open up those running lanes for, I think, Deonta Foreman, Khalil Herbert, get that run game going, the RPO game, the read option and everything, the QB zone read. And then that allows defenses to have to play them honest. And now having DJ Moore, Darnell Mooney, Chase Claypool, allow Justin Fields time to progress through his reads and start to kind of slice defenses up with his arm and not so much with his legs as he did last year. So I think Peter Skoronski, who's one of the best offensive linemen in this class, no matter what position, this young man can have a big impact on this offensive line.
So we've got our first offensive lineman off the board here with Peter Skoronski at 9. Ryan, I'm coming to you here with pick number 10. We're in a very unique scenario here with the Philadelphia Eagles. We have the team that just played in the Super Bowl picking in the top 10. Good luck trying to figure out what they're going to do, because you would think
he hates it.
You would think we could draft for need. And I'm sorry, as the Washington guy, that you drew this straw to be able to have to make this pick. So don't completely tank the draft by giving him some player that you don't like. But we look at this and we say, man, a team that just went to the Super Bowl picking inside the top 10, they could go anywhere with still having a first-round pick in their back pocket. They are, I think, truly the biggest wild card here so far. I will tell you, the chat is rooting for you to tank it. The chat is saying pick Stenson Bennett here. I mean, the chat is very much on board with you completely obliterating this draft. I would ask you, as the host of this show, to please not do that so we can at least keep some integrity here. But the chat is on your side if that's the direction that you do want to go in. I will give it to you to make a pick for the defending NFC champs, the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, they are in a luxury spot, as you said, and with a luxury spot. And I did not think that this luxury type of player was going to be here at 10. And that's Tyree Wilson from Texas Tech. And the craziest thing about this is he doesn't have to come in right away and play all 3 downs if they don't want him to, because they got guys like Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick. So you get a guy with the potential of Tyree Wilson to come in and potentially be a DPR for you from day one and learn behind those guys. And obviously the guys with the interior that they have is really an unbelievable fit. We know how much Howie Roseman values guys in the trenches. It's seemingly every single year that they take guys, whether it's on day 1, day 2, day 3, to boost that front 4. Tyree Wilson at 10 overall, a guy that may go top 5, top 6 picks. To get him at 10, it's a heck of a value. It's a heck of a fit. He's a heck of a football player. I love what he offers on the edge. He's long. He looks the part. I love his game. I know that the Big 12 defenses that have the projectability scares some people, may scare Keith a little bit. I know you're on the fence a little bit where Tyree finds his fit best, but man, at 10 overall to Philadelphia, I don't know if there's maybe a better fit right now. One of my favorite picks in this mock so far.
It took us until the 26-minute mark.
Real quick,
yeah,
Chris?
we just got to the 26-minute mark before Keith made an SEC reference. I just want, for those playing the bingo along with us at home, that's the official time on that.
Now, I would say, Ryan, even to add to what because this is definitely a luxury pick. I don't even think he has to be a DPR. I think with having Jordan Davis and the Fletcher Cox, the plethora of interior defensive linemen they have, bigger bodies, you can reduce him down to that 3 tech where he gets to go one-on-one with a guard and not have to worry about two gap. And you get him on the field early, especially on passing downs. And now this defensive line and their pressure packages, and unfortunately for your Commanders, just looks a little bit more potent and a little bit more juiced up if they handle it correctly.
Yeah, it really is. It's just they have so many bodies. The names go on, and I know they lost Javon Hargrave, but Fletcher Cox is obviously back. We don't need to go through all the names that they got. For him,
we'll be here all night.
To face one-on-ones, like you mentioned, Damian, it's a luxury to have that. And what a spot, man!
All right, Keith. All right, Keith. We got the Tennessee Titans here with pick number 11. We've got a quarterback on the board. We've also got Paris Johnson Jr. on the board. We've got options here. Keith, we've got options for the Tennessee Titans. This board has played out in a very interesting way for them.
Yeah, I mean, we got the Tennessee Titans as a franchise right now. I feel like they're confused, right? Like they're not quite sure what they want to do. We've heard about, getting rid of Ryan Tannehill at one point. We've heard trade talks about Derrick Henry. We heard question marks about, if they like Treylon Burks and, just the rest of his receiving core. Defensively, where they're going. We know they moved on from the general manager. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to draft quarterback Will Levis at this pick.
Whoa.
Because I believe that the Tennessee Titans, they don't know what they want to do. They just know that they don't want to do that again, right? Like, we're going to try to move on. We're going to try a different situation. So they're going to draft Will Levis here, and he's a guy for the future, right? Even if they stash him 1 year, hold on to Tannehill for 1 year, then move on, I could see something in that light. But I think they're going to really try to make a bold statement that we're moving in a different direction with the entire organization.
You got the chat all bewildered. The YouTube live chat very, very confused by what you did there. We had some predictions that you were going to go Paris Johnson Jr. We had some predictions that you were going to go JSN, and you said, nope, here's a curveball for you. We're going to go with Will Levis. And there's a comment here from Sixers Draft who says, Titans fans after they draft Levis, quote, wait, we got Ryan Tannehill again, end quote. So that is how maybe some Titans fans are feeling about things. We move on to the Houston Texans, who have already made a selection in this draft. They got Will Anderson when Keith selected at number 2. Unfortunately, Keith, you've done half the job. You're going to pass the job off to somebody else to finish the first round for the Houston Texans, and that person is DP Damian Parsons. So, Damian, we've got Will Anderson. That's what we used pick number 2 on. We didn't go with a quarterback. We are now entering this world where Houston's not taking a quarterback. None of the top 4 quarterbacks are on the board here, so it doesn't feel like that's going to be something that we try to do here with Hendon Hooker at 12. So we went edge. Now we got other positions that we can fill. What do we want to do here with this pick for the Houston Texans?
I'm not going to lie. I'm going right back to the defensive line. I'm going back to the edge group. I want to get Myles Murphy. I want to get as many good players. If we're going to just bypass a quarterback altogether, let's just get, draft good players. Let's just get as many good players as possible. And this defensive line hasn't been the strong suit since they had, Jadeveon Clowney and J.J. Watt. And that feels like a decade ago. I don't even know how long ago it was. But I feel like you pair Will Anderson Jr., you put Myles Murphy on the other side. I think Myles Murphy gives you inside and outside flexibility in terms of being able to rush the passer. But when you have Jalen Petrie in that secondary, Derek Stingley Jr. in that secondary, let's get a pass rush to make those guys' jobs a lot easier, right? And then when you bring in a rookie quarterback, he has a defense that's ready to go, or that's ready to roll, that can stop the run on the edges as well as get after the passer on third down. So I just doubled down and just with one of the best players available.
DP making D'Amico Ryan's very, very happy going defense and defensive line with those first 2 picks. We know that's the way those 49ers teams love to build themselves. They build it from the trenches and outward. All right, Ryan, you're on the clock here, and I will tell you that you guys did some pre-show work. You were discussing different things that you were going to do. And when you did that pre-show work, when you had that pre-show meeting, this pick was not being made for the team that's now going to be making the pick. You were originally making a selection for the New York Jets. You are not doing that now because as part of the trade for Aaron Rodgers that is close to being finalized, we now know that these 2 teams are going to do a pick swap. So you are now picking at 13. You're doing so for the Green Bay Packers. So Aaron Rodgers officially out. He's gone. We've got Jordan Love. We've now moved up 2 spots. What are we going to do to build around this new era here in Green Bay?
Yeah, so first things first, Jordan Love obviously is QB1. And for me, I want to get somebody in the building that can do multiplicity of things for the offense. And I think I look back at quarterbacks over the years in Green Bay, and guys like with Brett Favre, we had Bubba Franks, you had Donald Driver, and then Aaron Rodgers, you had Jordy Nelson as a sure-handed target. And then obviously 2 years ago when he had that connection with Robert Tonyan. So I'm going to take Dalton Kincaid here for this offense. I know they're extremely young on the outside, and there's a lot of buzz with Green Bay, with JSN. Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, Samari Toure actually had a decent year last year as a 7th rounder. But Dalton Kincaid is my tight end 1 in this class. He can play the Y and he can play the F as good as really any tight end in this class, and it's just an extremely deep one as well. I love his game. One of the most natural hands catchers in this class, if not the premier guy of all position players. I'm really in love with this kid's game. I really am. I think he's going to be a perennial Pro Bowler down the line. Again, Jordan Love, give a guy not just over the 7 to 10 yard intermediate portions of the offense with sure hands, but a guy that can get the ball in his hands and make a couple guys miss and take a 10-yard catch into 20, 25 yards and become a red zone threat right away. So Dalton Kincaid, I love the fit to Green Bay here.
It certainly feels as if, Ryan, that if you're going to evaluate Jordan Love properly over the next couple of seasons, right, because they have the 5th-year option that's coming up, and they don't really know what they have in him, right? The best way to do that is surround him with the most amount of talent so that you can feel that there are no excuses, right? So that you don't feel like you have a Sam Darnold in New York situation, right? Jets fans have an agita over the idea of, do we really give Sam enough, or do we really know what Sam is? And so you kind of want to avoid that with Jordan Love. So I appreciate the pick, and as the chat points out, Dalton Kincaid, tight end 1. The first tight end off the board for us all the way up here at 13. Feels a little rich, although we've been discussing him at 15 to the Packers as well. So you can kind of understand the thought process, but there you have it. Dalton Kincaid, tight end 1. Keith, you were picking for the New England Patriots here, and I give you full permission as the host of the show. If you want to tank this pick for the New England Patriots, please be my guest. Go right ahead. You will not hear any complaints here to do that at all. But we got Paris Johnson on the board. I mean, he's starting to fall here for us. That could be an option. We know we probably want some offensive line help there to protect Mac Jones. Maybe we want to get some more weapons for him. We've got choices here for the New England Patriots. This board has fallen very nicely for them. So you now are sitting in the room with GM Bill Belichick. You're going to be turning in the card. Who are we doing it? Who are we taking?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell Bill, hold on this one. Last year you drafted Cole Strange in the first round. I'm gonna take care of this pick, man. I got this one, man. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna get Mac Jones some help, man. We're getting wide receiver from TCU, Quentin Johnston. If we're going strictly for upside, right? If there's a guy that has the potential to be dominant, right, both physically and athletically, it's Quentin Johnston, being 6'2", jumping 40 inches. We've seen some of his short area quickness. So we're going to get Mac Jones some true help. We tried Tyquan Thornton last year just because he was fast. That didn't necessarily work out. So I'm going wide receiver from TCU, Quentin Johnston, with this pick, try to get Mac Jones some help.
Any thought to going in a different direction, maybe some defensive help or the offensive line? Did you consider any of that stuff when making this pick, or was the priority above all, hey, we got to help Mac Jones in terms of pass catchers?
Yeah, Chris, I mean, this is a mock draft, right? So we're trying to put ourselves in the shoes of Bill Belichick. So, I mean, anything's on the table when it comes down to that. Like, I didn't know where to go, to be completely honest with you. But I thought to add as much reason as possible, and I think Quentin Johnston was that guy.
Now the New York Jets are on the clock with pick number 15. They were originally picking at 13, and let me just make sure that I just checking my notes here, making sure who's on the clock here. Pick number 15, it's my guy DP. DP, we should be running in the card. The card should be ran in. It should be in the commissioner's hand already here with the way that this board has played out. So please make me very happy. Run in the correct card to be able to give Aaron Rodgers the best ability to succeed.
Man, after the Aaron Rodgers trade, we got Mekhi Becton coming back healthy, hopefully. And for a full season. I want to go back to the trenches on the offensive line for New York. I want to get Paris Johnson and add him to that tackle room. Dwayne Brown's 37 years old. Max Mitchell was a rookie that, you didn't like what you saw from him. So, Ryan, so in that situation, let's go ahead and get 2 bookend tackles. You have yourself an elite caliber type of quarterback. You have weapons. You can run the ball. You have a nice athletic running back in the backfield that's coming up healthy as well. Paris Johnson, superb athlete. If I remember correctly, I don't have it pulled up. I think his arms measure at like 35, 36 inches or something crazy like that. So you have an athletic guy who is still learning to play the tackle position after being thrown in at guard for whatever reason his first year at Ohio State. But, man, I think the ceiling is extremely high. He could be one of those franchise type of tackles. Got to get a little stronger in the functionally, but with this zone running game, he can get out in space, pick guys off at the second level, and like I said, protect Aaron Rodgers on one end, have 2 bookend tackles, let the guys on the interior help each other out. I like the fit.
Oh, we love it, DP. I was very worried after this trade was made earlier today that the Jets would be kind of priced out of the offensive line conversation, that all the tackles would go before they make the pick, but the board fell in a great way, and you home run, in my opinion, here to get them Paris Johnson. Funny enough, I don't know how it happened, but Ryan Fowler on the clock making the pick for his Washington Commanders. I don't know how that could have potentially worked out, that the order fell in a way where Ryan Fowler's making the pick for his team. But here you go, man. I'm not even going to set it up for you. You know how to set it up better than I do, so I'm just going to put you on the full screen here, and you can just talk about the Washington Commanders. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, this is a spot where, look, you can ask anybody, anywhere. They can go a lot of different spots. Is it tackle? Is it interior? Could it be a running back? Could it be a tight end? Could it be a quarterback? Is it a trade back? Bottom line, and where it starts for me, is on the perimeter. You got to guard guys like Devonta Smith, A.J. Brown, C.D. Lamb every single year, and the guys in the NFC we don't need to mention, like Justin Jefferson in Minnesota, for example. My focus is on Deonte Banks from the University of Maryland. And look, they got a guy on the outside of Benjamin St-Juste that they expect to play on the outside. People forget he actually played some nickel last year before William Jackson got hurt, and he was ultimately benched. But we still got Kendall Fuller in the building. He's best at nickel in his first stint in Washington. They brought over Cameron Dantzler, a long corner from Minneapolis, on waivers. But for me, I want a guy that potentially shuts down a third of the field for me. They love their safeties room. They're young. They're talented. I got to get better ball players on the outside that can play man and zone and has those athletic intangibles that meets Washington's thresholds. So Deonte Banks from Maryland is the pick here.
Braden in the chat says, buy Kendall Fuller, which I think is, kind of what Ryan was doing with this pick, but he didn't want to say it out loud necessarily. We keep things moving here. We're picking for the Pittsburgh Steelers here at 17. And I will tell you, Keith, that David Jaffe in the chat was very, very excited with the way the board was falling. He was like, oh, Paris Johnson Jr. is going to be available to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Look at this. Look at how this is playing out. And then DP says, nah, David, hold my beer. Hold on a second here. I'm going to pick him for the New York Jets. So you're going to have to make it up to David in the chat here with a good pick. They've got some needs, maybe some offensive line help, although some of the big names are kind of already off the board. What are we doing here with the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Yeah, this one is textbook, man. This is like copy and paste from last year. Aiden Hutchinson being a Michigan man, going to the Detroit Lions at number 2. This is storyline, right? This is draft day, the movie. This is so, it could be on a commercial, right? Joey Porter Jr. to the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's a team need. He's still there. I'm actually surprised Ryan Fowler didn't draft Joey Porter to the Commanders, because I know he's a Joey Porter Jr. guy. But guess what, man? Everything worked out. So we get Joey Porter Jr. to the Steelers. We know, the history and the legacy as far as with his father and everything.
I appreciate that you were just like, listen, guys. I just got to do it. There's no other
way.
Right. Listen, Joey Porter, it's that. I can't. I'm sorry. We can't do any more than that. That's my reasoning, because I can't not let that happen. So we move to the Detroit Lions, who are making their second selection here. Earlier, they got Christian Gonzalez to help solidify that corner room, to help us out in that pick. And our guy Ray in the chat, Destination Devi, saying patiently waiting for this Cowboys pick. So I don't know who drew that assignment, but just be ready here, because you're going to get some reactions out of our guy Ray here in just a second. But we've got the second pick for Detroit. They took Christian Gonzalez with their first pick there at pick number 6. So at pick number 18, DP, you get to make both picks here for this team. So what are we going to add? We got Christian Gonzalez with pick 6. Are we going to stay on the defense, get some more ankle biters, or are we going to help this offense out for Jared Goff here for another year in Detroit?
Man, their offense was just fine. I'm getting some more defensive help. I'm going to the defensive line. Iowa's Lucas Van Ness, a powerful, raw defensive lineman that can play on the edge, but also has that experience playing reduced down inside as a D tackle. And guys, when I sat there and I thought about this pick, I just envisioned Aiden Hutchinson in a 2-point stance and Lucas Van Ness sitting right beside him with his hand in the dirt. And it's like, yeah, good luck, sliding protection that way. And then James Houston as my fastball pitcher coming off the opposite side. I'm trying to create some chaos and give my guys some one-on-one opportunities. So I think putting Lucas Van Ness, like that power, the physicality. Listen, we saw him up close and personal at the combine. He's a legit 275, 280. This kid's rocked up, ready to go. So I think with him, Aiden Hutchinson, like I said, you could play him at edge if you want to, But I think we know that with Iowa, he had that versatility and where he aligned, where he played inside at D tackle as well, and he's accustomed to playing it. So it's all about how DC Aaron Glenn wants to handle it. But my job is to give you good players, and Aaron Glenn, I did that.
DP Mark in the chat, love the pick, said Lions, Lucas Van Ness, booyah. So you got the seal of approval there from Mark. And I will tell you, we're going to pass the microphone and the pick selecting to Ryan Fowler, because he's selecting for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at pick 19. And Ryan, I just want to apologize on behalf of the show that you have to make this pick, because I have zero clue what you should do with this pick, because you could literally pick anybody, and you pick any player, and everyone be like, oh yeah, that makes some sense. They kind of need that. That's the state of this franchise right now in the post-Tom Brady era. So give me the thought process. What's the reasoning behind the selection? What direction are we going in? What the way the board falls out? How do you see this lining up for Tampa Bay with the way that this has played out so far?
Yeah, I'm getting a guy that can wear a multitude of hats, and not just wear them, but wear them well. And one of the most versatile players in this class. There's no more Mike Edwards. There's no more Keanu Neal. Sean Murphy-Bunting's in Tennessee. I know Jamel Dean, Carlton Davis is there. Antoine Winfield's patrolling the roof. But Brian Branch from Alabama is one of the most versatile players in this class. Physical, aggressive, can play in the box, live in the nickel. That's the guy that I'm taking here at 19 for Tampa Bay. Just get ball players in the building. And bottom line for me, there's going to be some new quarterbacks to NFC South. I already took Bryce Young for Carolina, got Derek Carr in New Orleans, Desmond Ridder leading the charge with now Bijan now in Atlanta in this mock here to Keith.
Yeah.
So, I'm just going Brian Branch and get me ball players that can do a lot of things for you. And Todd Bowles, defensive-minded head coach, that fits down there. So give me some fresh legs.
I'm glad we were reminded that Keith took Bijan for the Atlanta Falcons. I feel like we got every 15 minutes or so, we just need to remind everybody that we had Bijan there inside the top 10. Ryan, I guess the question that I would ask you here is, how do you see Branch fitting into this defense, right? There are conversations about, is he going to be a safety? Is he going to have to play corner at the next level, that versatility? How do you see that evaluation playing out? Because I think when we talk about this safety group, it's a little rough. We don't know if there's going to be a round one safety. Brian Branch would be the name to evoke if you think there is going to be one. How do you see him fitting in at the next level?
Yeah, well, I think you look at what Keanu Neal and Antoine Winfield have done, right, for that defense. And I think the ability to do a lot of different things and be physical at the box, then play press man, play some zone. Right? If you want to be a tight end eraser over the middle of the field, you can do that too. We know that Mr. Kyle Pitts lives in this division as well. So that's a guy that you could place on Kyle Pitts and hopefully work in coverage for you. I love Brian Branch and his ability as well as a cerebral athlete. He's extremely smart. And turn on the tape, he understands what offenses are doing before, so pre-snap, before it happens post-snap. I love that about his game. I think that stuff translates. Then you add in that athletic intangibles, and the bottom line is just a flat-out good football player. One of the things I am concerned about is I want to see him be a little bit of a more structured tackler, if that makes sense, as far as get guys in his base. Sometimes he's doesn't chop his feet. Sometimes a little bit grab and drag tackler. I want to see a little bit more consistency in that, especially in the flat areas of the defense. But, again, just a guy that does a lot of things and does them well.
All right, Keith. The Seattle Seahawks are on the clock. You decided, hey, I'm going to take a quarterback here at number 5, C.J. Stroud. We're going to start the future for Seattle with our pick at number 5. Well, at pick number 20, are we going to continue to build that future, or are we going to help Geno Smith for the right now?
Yeah, so that was key, right? That I took C.J. Stroud at pick number 5. Listen, man, we're going to continue this trend, right? Joe Burrow has Jamar Chase, his college teammate, man. Tua Tagovailoa has Jalen Waddle, his college teammate. So guess what? Jackson Smith and Jigba is still sitting on the board, and we're going to draft them. We're going to take them. We're going to go ahead and go with that 3-headed monster, put these guys together, him, Tyler Lockett, and DK Metcalf. They're just going to continue to revamp this new Seattle Seahawks offense.
Makes a lot of sense, Keith. I mean, you got to look at this from the context of you got Tyler Lockett getting a little bit older. This team's going to probably enter a new era here pretty soon. So I like the pick a lot there for Seattle there at 20. We are into the 20s already here, and appreciate everybody hanging out with us. Continue to throw in your comments, your questions for the guys for any of these picks. I'll make sure to weave them in where we can, but we will keep this thing rolling because we move on to the next selection here. And I look at my list because I have to have the order written out. I imagine thinking I would remember the order, even though we've been doing this for like a year. Not a chance. I have it written down here. The Los Angeles Chargers are on the clock here with pick 21. DP, we're going to add a player to this Chargers team. Justin Herbert finally breaks through. The team gets to the playoffs. Disappointing way to go out. We keep the coach. We've got the quarterback. We're probably going to pay the quarterback here in a few short weeks or months. we've got some options here on the board. There are some pretty good players. Are we going to continue to build around Justin Herbert, give him some more weapons on offense, maybe in the tight end department? Maybe we add a wide receiver. Maybe we add a pass catching back out of the backfield. What direction do we see here for the Los Angeles Chargers?
Yes, and yes. We're going to continue to build around.
You can't pick all three, DP. We can't pick all three positions. That's not how it works.
If you do it right, you can. We got multiple rounds. But no, I'm going Luke Musgrave, tight end out of Oregon State, man. I got to give a big, explosive weapon to Justin Herbert, man. When you have Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, two really, really talented receivers, but guys that continue to be kind of banged up throughout their career, right? And think about what they have on this offense. If Bijan was here, I probably would have went Bijan, but he went much higher than
where did he go? Where did he go?
He went top
10. That's right, he went top 10. You tell him, Keith.
We're not going to discuss. I'm not going to discuss it. But I think with Luke Musgrave, man, 6'6", 250, explosive vertical threat. You think about putting them in on over routes and crossers and seam routes and corners, and just detach them from the line as well. Get them matched up on some safeties and linebackers. Then, of course, in the red zone, I think with his ability to high point the ball, play above the rim, man, just give Justin Herbert the weapons he needs to compete with that man down in Kansas City, number 15. I got to give my guy a shot. Right, so I think Luke Musgrave does a great job. He can play all three downs, blocking the run game, but I think we haven't seen the best of him, and I think Justin Herbert can pull it out of him.
There were some people in the chat thinking you were going to go Zay Flowers and said that wasn't allowed, that you weren't allowed to add Zay Flowers there to the Los Angeles Chargers. But you take Luke Musgrave, my personal tight end one in this class, so I certainly love that as a fit for the Los Angeles Chargers. Again, they rotate wide receivers all the time. They got wide receivers that are hurt all the time. Just getting good and depth in the pass-catching department just in general is a good thing, so you couldn't go wrong either way there with the way the board stacked out in both of those positions. We move to pick number 22. And the Baltimore Ravens. We think Lamar Jackson might probably, in most scenarios, is going to be their quarterback next season. I don't want to, speak too certainly about this because we're not really sure. So, Ryan, you're making the pick, and it's an envious situation to be in because you kind of have to make this pick not knowing who the quarterback's going to be, and that would dictate a lot the way that this team would go in terms of the direction of their franchise. So, take me through the thought process. Did you make the pick with Lamar as the quarterback in mind, and then what was the ultimate selection?
Yeah, so I did make the pick with Lamar under center because I do think he will be there, obviously, with signing Odell and trying to get some legs on the outside. But Odell's not 25 anymore. I'm not sure if Rashad Bateman could stay healthy for more than a day and a half. Devin Duvernay, James Prochet, Tylan Wallace, these guys don't scare me at all if I'm defensive coordinators. I love Mark Andrews, J.K. Dobbins. We know Gus Edwards. They've had injury concerns. So I'm taking Jahmyr Gibbs here from the University of Alabama because he's a guy that if you want him to be that bell cow, I think he can. I like him better as an RB2 and a complementary weapon to J.K. Dobbins. But he's also a guy that you turn on the film, you could flex this guy out to the slot or flex him out to the perimeter and make a defense add another DB onto the field. And we know most points wins in creating matchups and forcing every single athlete on defense to cover every single yard. And with Jahmyr Gibbs in your offense, I get it. Look, we know Baltimore likes to run the ball, but more weapons, more athletes, more points on the board for this offense, and not all the attention focused on Mark Andrews. So Jahmyr Gibbs here to Baltimore, it was a pretty easy pick for me. I love the fit here.
I hate how good this is for the Baltimore Ravens. I don't really like it. As somebody who's going to be rivals with the entire AFC, I don't need them getting better in any capacity. So I'm not really, it's a great pick, but I'm not really looking forward to having to go up against Lamar and Jahmyr Gibbs potentially in the playoffs. If that were the case, it puts a smile to Jamie Eiser's face. He puts a smile emoji there in the chat. We move on. The Minnesota Vikings at pick number 23. Keith, you were up and making this selection. There is a growing movement in the chat. The YouTube chat is coalesced on one guy. And they're, with every pick that goes by, they're expecting this guy's name to be called. I don't say it to influence the decision. I know you probably already made up your mind, but the people want to know where Zay Flowers is going to go. So I will ask it to you this way. Is Zay Flowers the pick for you at pick 23 for the Minnesota Vikings? And if not, who is?
Chris Schubert, I'm a man of the people, man. I love supplying the people, giving them what they want, man. So right here, I'm going to give them Not what they want, but what they need. The Minnesota Vikings are drafting center John Michael Schmitz. The Minnesota Vikings need a center, man. We need a center. We need to be able to block. We need to be able to take the ball out of Kirk Cousins' hand in prime time, in the playoffs, and run the football. So we're going to get a center, somebody that can move the football. So that's where we're going with this.
That was the most wrestling heel promo I think I've ever seen here on the Mock. You set everybody up. You're like, yes, you're getting what you want. It's not what you think you want, though. You're getting John Michael Schmitz. And listen, this is a player that I love. He's one of my guys in this draft class, and this feels like the appropriate range where I think we would start talking about him as a player. I think Seattle, a couple picks earlier, could make some sense, but this is kind of where that window I think opens up to where we will start to see John Michael Schmitz be talked about and potentially see his name come off the board. The Jacksonville Jaguars, year 2 of Doug Peterson down there in Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence in year 3 coming off of a great season there in Jacksonville, division champs, making the playoffs. DP, what are we going to do to help Doug Peterson, Dougie P, keep this Jaguars team where they're at as the favorites in the AFC South?
Man, I had to go to the defensive secondary. I went with Georgia corner Keely Ringo, big, physical, explosive, straight line speed type of corner, and a guy that when you think about the usage of a Tariq Woolen, a Sauce Gardner last year, being able to play cover 3, and then when the matchups pertain to it, you put them in man to man and let them play up close on the line of scrimmage. You get that type of player with a Keely Ringo, championship pedigree, instinctive player. But I truly believe that his best ball is yet to come, and I think in this defense, again, grabbing another guy from Georgia, Trayvon Walker last year, adding Keely Ringo to the secondary, you got to be able to deal with those matchups, right? The AFC South, Keely Ringo versus Treylon Burks would be some must-see TV, in my opinion, on Sundays. So I'm looking forward to putting him in this defense and allowing them to continue to build. Like I said, get another big athletic playmaker that they can continue to build his secondary and his defense around. Because, yes, Trevor Lawrence will need more help on offense, probably tackle, but also you need to be able to stop people, and I think having a good corner definitely helps, and is a step in the right direction.
Funny enough, don't know how it happened, but here we go. Ryan Fowler picking for another team in the NFC East. I mean, he's picked for the Eagles already. He picked for his Washington. Now he's picking for the New York Giants. Ryan, I don't know how you continue to do this, where you tend to be the guy that keeps picking for this team. But a fantastic first year in New York for Brian Daboll, for Joe Schoen, building this team, completely exceeding expectations that everybody had for this team in year 1. So much so that Daniel Jones gets a big contract extension. They're able to bring Saquon Barkley back on the franchise tag. So something is starting to brew at MetLife Stadium for the New York Giants. How do you approach the NFL draft here in year 2 of this regime?
Yeah, when I look at the New York Giants, the first thing that comes to my mind is not Brian Daboll. It's not Daniel Jones. It's not Saquon Barkley. It's not Andrew Thomas. It's defensive coordinator Wink Martindale. And when I look at his pillars of his defense, he is a throwback style of defensive coordinator that wants to stick your face in the dirt, that wants to beat you up behind the barn. He wants to knock your chin strap loose. It's a guy that wants to flat out get after people. And I look at this defensive secondary, and Adoree Jackson and Cordell Flott, Darnay Holmes, plays a nickel, is moving into, I believe, year 4 already. I need some bodies on the outside and someone that can be that alpha on the perimeter, and that is Cam Smith from the University of South Carolina. One of my favorite studies in this class as far as just a flat-out dog on the perimeter and takes every single snap personal, whether he wins the rep, which was a majority, or he loses a few. And I like guys also on the outside that are a little battle tested. I know hasn't received too much buzz post-combine in these last few months, but I absolutely love his game and fitting him in with that Wink Martindale defense in a secondary that needs bodies to, again, counter the other receivers in this division. I love the fit of Cam Smith working with Wink Martindale.
All right, Keith. I see him in the chat. He's ready for you. Our guy Ray is in the chat. He's already typing. He said, all right, here we go. You are making the selection here for the Dallas Cowboys. Let me just mark it off on my sheet so I make sure we're in the right spot. Pick number 26 for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to put you on the big screen. You can talk to Ray, to all the Cowboys fans out there, because I know we're going to clip this for social. It's going to be on the Twitter account here in a little bit, so just be mentally prepared. Here you go.
Oh, man, Chris, you put so much pressure on me. I wish I had something more splashy than this pick, man. If I knew I was going to do this, I wish I had a more
Come on, I had to drum it up. Right. It's the Cowboys. Yeah, I had to make it spicy.
You know what? I'm about to turn this around. Chris Schubert, listen, man. Cowboys Nation, trust in me, baby. We're going my offensive tackle one. Georgia offensive tackle Broderick Jones. This is what we're going to do, right? We're going to fix this offensive line so our starting top 5 quarterback, Dak Prescott, can look like that top 5 quarterback. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to draft Broderick Jones, put him at left tackle. We're going to take our first-round pick from last year, Tyler Smith, put him at left guard. Do you know what we're going to do with our perennial Pro Bowl, Hall of Fame left tackle? We're going to kick him to right tackle, Tyron Smith. Yes, now we have the ability to run block up there. We can pass protect. We can get Dak Prescott distributing his football. And guess what? It's bombs away to Brandon Cooks and CeeDee Lamb for this Dallas Cowboys offense. Ask Ray Garvin, how was that?
We did a lot there.
That'll
We
get
made
him to 7 wins.
No, don't start. Don't start in the chat, please. I knew there was going to be something. Please don't start. I love how Keith made one pick and he made 14 roster moves inside the one pick. We're moving guys all over the offensive line. We only submitted one card, but we're moving guys everywhere with the pick. The chat loves it. Ray loves it. Says good work, Keith. So you got the seal of approval. We'll see how it does on social later when that thing gets clipped and put out to the world. We'll keep things moving here. The Buffalo Bills, DP, you're making the pick here for a team that's looking to break through, right? They're still in this window with Josh Allen where they are trying to break through, finally get to the Super Bowl, finally be the AFC representative. That's the window in which we view this team. They are in a win-now mode, looking to make picks to continue to build around Josh Allen. So what direction, what player are we taking with this pick?
No, everything you said is correct. They want to, make the right choices and get deeper into the playoffs. And I think adding Jordan Addison, wide receiver out of USC, is a great step in the right direction to do so, guys. We've seen teams and defenses double team Stephon Diggs and try to take him out of the game plan. And then you're relying on Gabe Davis and Dawson Knox and guys that you just don't want to rely on as the number 2, maybe number 3, number 4 option. Jordan Addison walks into this offense with Josh Allen, and Sean McDermott, and I think Ken Dorsey's the OC. And now he walks into advantageous situations in terms of coverage, facing CB 2 and 3. You can move him around. You can find ways to get him free. But I think with the route runner, the hands, the yak, the yards after the catch that he could bring to this offense, let's get some more weapons for Josh Allen. Again, I will say this. If Bijan was here, I probably would have taken that.
Where'd he go? Keith, where'd he go?
But he's not.
Man, he went in the top 10.
Top 10. So not even a chance.
So,
couldn't even consider him.
There's no chance that he fell here. But if he did, I would have went that pick. The point is, let's get Josh Allen some help, baby. Jordan Addison out of USC, former Biletnikoff winner from the 2021 season. I think this really pairs well with Stephon Diggs.
Ryan, we're picking for the Cincinnati Bengals now, and I think everything I just said about the Buffalo Bills, we could apply to the Cincinnati Bengals. We'll just replace Buffalo with Cincinnati and Josh Allen with Joe Burrow. That team has made the Super Bowl, but they haven't broke through and won the Super Bowl, but they're operating in the same window and the same kind of mindset that we just talked about with Buffalo. So Cincinnati on the clock, what are we doing?
Yeah, look, as I said earlier with Jahmyr Gibbs and the Baltimore Ravens, most points wins. And that's really been it since the dawn of football. And I want to get a guy in my defensive secondary that is a flat-out ball hawk, and there's really nobody in this class that's even in the same stratosphere as this kid, and that's Emmanuel Forbes out of Mississippi State. Chidobe Awuzie is an average corner. Mike Hilton's a heck of a nickel corner. Cam Taylor-Britt they took on day 2 last year. I like the player. But you get a guy in Emmanuel Forbes in this defense to get the ball back to your offense. I know AFC North is going to get cold up in there in Cincinnati, Ohio in late December and January. And you look at Emmanuel Forbes, and he's 160 pounds soaking wet. But you turn on the tape. Keith mentioned earlier, the guys are built different in the SEC. And Emmanuel Forbes, he's a guy that's also willing in the run game as well. I love his game. I absolutely love the instincts. Not many guys have the instincts, not just in this class, but in the last 3-4 years on the outside. You got to get guys and get the ball back to your offense. A lot of the time, he took it back himself for 6. So Emmanuel Forbes to the Cincinnati Bengals here.
Love the pick. Keith, we're making the pick for the New Orleans Saints here. I say we because, I just hand the baton over to you. You did all the work here. You made the selection. But I'll take some of the credit here. We're picking for a team that necessarily, when this whole process started, didn't have a first-round pick, but they ended up getting one because their former head coach, now coaching in Denver, this is the Sean Payton pick. We've got Derek Carr in the building. Everybody knows in the chat that makes me very happy that Derek Carr starting for the New Orleans Saints. I'll be rooting very hard for him down there in New Orleans. So we're trying to go for it. We got a division that's wide open. We're in the post-Tom Brady era there in Tampa Bay. Carolina's making a pick for the quarterback at number 1, so we think they're probably at least a year or two away from being there. Atlanta, they're going into year 2 of Desmond Ridder. They did add Bijan Robinson, though, to make that offense a little bit better. I don't know if we talked about that enough here on the show. Just want to make sure I get that in one more time. So what are we going to do for the New Orleans Saints here to help Derek Carr succeed in a division that feels pretty open for the taking?
Yeah, in an ideal situation, right, we would love to have drafted Jahmyr Gibbs because of the Alvin Kamara situation, but Ryan has him going to the Baltimore Ravens, man. So this we're going to do. We're going to go on the defensive side of the ball, and I'm going to draft a Keith Sanchez guy, and that's Tennessee's Byron Young.
Oh, I love this, Keith. Tell him.
There's one name that we're not talking about enough. If it's this kid right here, he has one of the best first steps in the edge rusher and pass rush group. The New Orleans Saints over the past couple of years, right? They've drafted Peyton Turner from University of Houston. They've drafted Marcus Davenport, and they've moved up to draft those guys, and they just simply haven't worked. Cameron Jordan, let me say this, man. Cameron Jordan is still their pillar, the defensive pillar, their pass rush guy. But this is a guy that came into the league with Von Miller, Marcel Darius, J.J. Watt. 2 of those 3 guys are out of the NFL already. So it's really time to find that next guy as far as an edge rush passer. A pass rush edge guy, and I'm going to go with Tennessee's Byron Young.
2 more picks here for us in this live mock draft to kick off draft week. Appreciate everybody watching the show here on the TDN YouTube channel and the TDN Twitter account. We've got a lot of fun content. At the end of the show, I'll tell you what we've got cooked up for this week for the 2023 NFL Draft. DP, this is kind of normalcy. This is where the Philadelphia Eagles, we would think this would be the first time we would be talking about them here with pick number 31. We added a great pass rusher with pick number 10. So now we can, just like we talked about with pick number 10, we can kind of go in a bunch of different directions and feel pretty good about it. So here we are, pick number 30. What are we going to do?
We're going to make sure that Jalen Hurts and this offense and this team gets back to the Super Bowl and continue to score points. Give me Boston College wide receiver Zay Flowers.
We got him, folks. He got into the first round. We got him. He's in there.
At the end of the day, man, we know you got AJ Brown, Swole Batman. You got the Slim Reaper and Devonta Smith, but you need a true wide receiver 3 to really take this offense where it could even be in terms of that, dare I say, Kansas City Chief type of level. And I think Zay Flowers, that explosiveness, that dynamic ability after the catch, he can win at all 3 levels, be that quick hitting option, almost a extra security blanket, right? For Jalen Hurts, especially with Dallas Goedert at tight end. It don't really matter who they have in the backfield because they always can run the football. So for me, Zay Flowers, that burst, that explosiveness, that speed with those other weapons on this offense. Hey, go ahead and check the ring size for Jalen Hurts right now.
I will tell you, DP, you absolutely broke our guy Braden in the YouTube chat's heart. This guy was sitting back, wasn't saying a word. He was watching all these teams pass on Zay Flowers because he's been talking up a storm about how he wants Zay Flowers. Jamie in his mock, which you can see over in the draftnetwork.com, he had the Chiefs trading up to get him. Braden was like, yes, love it. Let's do it. Let's trade up. And he saw this board kind of fall, and he was like, oh, everything's coming up Chiefs right now. We're not going to have to move at all. We're not going to have to give up a single piece of draft capital. We're going to get our guy Zay Flowers. And you know what you said, DP? You said, nah, not on my watch. I'm going to take him right in front of you to the team that they just saw in the Super Bowl. Loved every minute of that. So, Ryan, I will give this over to you here to close us out with the final pick. We do mention those Kansas City Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champs. We've got a pretty good team. We just won the Super Bowl, so not a whole lot of things that we really need to do. We could probably go to that wants list and check off some boxes there. So we are the defending Super Bowl champs. How are we closing out this mock draft here for round 1?
Yeah, the question heading into last fall in 2022 was this Kansas City offense going to live up to expectation and reach that performance ceiling? And obviously they did, obviously with pillars of Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. And I could have gone different routes here. I could have gone maybe for a tight end. Michael Mayer is still on the board. I look at maybe a tackle, an edge guy, or Nolan Smith, who I like a lot, still on the board. A lot of edge guys. But for me, we know that Brett Veach, GM of Kansas City, likes those OU tackles. And I'm going to go Anton Harrison here. Now, they brought in over Jawan Taylor from Jacksonville, and Lucas Niang is slotted right now at right tackle, replacing Andrew Wiley. But I look back to that Super Bowl against Tampa Bay where Patrick Mahomes is running for his life, and no quarterback, I don't care how talented you are, is good when they're facing the sky. So I'm trying to keep him upright and allow him to stay healthy as long as possible. So for me, I'm going to go Anton Harrison here from Oklahoma, one of the smoothest athletes in this class at the tackle position.
That's a wrap. We've completed 31 picks in the books. Ryan kind of mentioned some of the big names that are still left on the board. Michael Mayer would be there at the top of round 2 if this played out the way that we had it. Nolan Smith, Mazi Smith, a couple of the names that can immediately jump to mind for me. Darnell Washington as well. Names that would probably be Julius Brents. I'm just thinking of names here as I do this kind of talking point, but a lot of good names that would be available at the top of round 2 here. But that is going to wrap up this 2023 live mock draft to kick off draft week, and this is just the beginning of what is going to be a very fun week for everybody out there with the NFL draft just a couple days away, but for us here at the Draft Network, content all week long. We've got TDN Daily with myself every single day this week, prospects and props, Jamie and myself doing a podcast about gambling, discussing NFL draft props all week long. We've got the TDN Premium Discord where we're going to have exclusive content all week long, including a watch-along, a premium watch-along on Thursday for just members of the TDN Premium Discord and TDN Premium to be able to hang out with us live on draft night. And you are going to be hearing from the 3 guys in those boxes over there on draft night as well, with instant reaction on social media, with some great content breaking down the picks and why they are good fits for those specific teams. So you are going to want to stay plugged in. Please subscribe to the Draft Network YouTube channel. Hit that notification bell so you know when we go live and you know when we drop a new video, because there's content coming all week long. For those of you watching on Twitter, you're going to want to stay plugged into the Draft Network on Twitter, because a lot of content coming your way there all week long, including our scouting reports when these players get drafted. So a lot of fun stuff. I know I speak for everybody here on this show that we are ready to go. We are very, very excited to get to Kansas City and to be able to have these conversations about all of these players and them actually going somewhere. So appreciate everybody who hung out with us on both the Twitter account, the YouTube account, everybody in the chat that was hanging out with us, bantering with us the entire time. This was a lot of fun. Appreciate it. Consider this the kickoff to draft week here at TDN. We've got a lot of fun stuff coming your way the rest of the week, so stay plugged in. For Keith Sanchez, Ryan Fowler, Damian Parson, I'm Chris Schubert. Everybody have a great rest of your night. We'll talk to you later.